I'm just relating something I used to do as a misguided teenager. All
This
right.
ought to be really good.
Time for the Angler Within podcast with Roy Bilby.
Boom. People have no idea why we're doing that, but it has been a struggle just to get this to work today.
Technology is not on our side, but we're
in.
We're getting around it.
Yeah, we're working around it. No kidding.
Podcast producer extraordinaire.
Yeah.
This guy right over here.
Yeah.
had his mixing board crap out on him, and then I had to run out to the store and grab what is called a Focusrite to fill in for it while I figure out what's wrong.
Yeah.
And a lot of F's there. A lot of F bombs being thrown around as well.
Well, it might relieve pressure, but it doesn't help. Unless it helps you deal with.
I'm just used to we already had a talk before. It's in my DNA.
Yeah.
It's okay. So Happy New Year to you, sir.
And to you and all our listeners as well, our faithful, loyal listeners, we truly appreciate. I did seminars this past weekend. The seminar season has begun. I love doing that time of year. And we have been out on the ice, but we've had a mild stretch here. It's all slushy and sloppy on top of the ice. So I'm basically waiting for it to lock back up so we can get out there and walk without getting everything soaked, which is just a soggy, wet, sloppy mess. Takes all the fun out of it. And no place is open enough to put a boat on. So I'm kind of stuck between a rock and a slushy spot. So to get out and be able to do seminars and go out, just be in my element, talking about something I'm so passionate about, that's about as good as it gets for me this time of year when we're caught in between. It was the 17th annual Sportsman's Day up north at the Sacandaga Bible Conference. They put on this show every year. They had 7 seminar speakers available, and it's a great deal. For $25. You get in the door, you get breakfast. They had coffee, donuts every year. They had biscuits and gravy, which was phenomenal. It was from wild boar sausage, and it was fantastic. And they loaded up a bowl for you, a couple biscuits. You couldn't hardly finish it. I couldn't finish it. And then you get the welcome introductions. You get your choice of 2 1-hour seminars that you can attend. Then they have a complete full wild game buffet dinner in their cafeteria, huge cafeteria. But you still can't fit everybody in it at once because, hundreds of people attend this event. Great turnout. I had a full classroom. There was one empty chair for my first seminar. The second seminar is usually very lightly attended, but again, I had half a classroom for that one. So very enjoyable.
How many of them were listeners?
That's
them already.
That's the thing. Where I started talking about this. It's great to see people that listen to the podcast come in and attend the seminars as well. A lot of them, but there were 2 guys in the front row. I'm always going to plug the podcast, and 2 guys pulled out their phone right away and signed up. So we gained some new listeners there. So if you guys are listening to this episode, thank you twice, not only for attending my seminar. I hope you got a lot out of it, and welcome to the podcast. We've got a lot of great back episodes, so listen to those as well. Start anywhere you want. So I did, and I've talked about that. I did a podcast on this seminar, the 7 steps to take your fishing to the next level. It's one I love to give, and you see people taking notes, and it's very rewarding and refreshing to me to have people, hang on to every word I'm saying and record it. There's some guys there that record the entire seminar with their phone. Thanks, Eric. He's a listener as well. And it's just I get to talk about what I've learned and help shorten the learning curve for those that are in attendance. And I I discovered years ago that I have a passion, an equal passion for passing on what I've learned. And this podcast gives me that opportunity. The seminar circuit gives me that opportunity. Bass Pro Shops gives me that opportunity. Berkeley does. So it's just I'm in my element when I'm talking fishing and just really enjoy it and love it. And the rewarding thing for me is this show every year they have typically 8 different seminar speakers on everything you can imagine. I always do something on fishing, but I mix it up. I have 4 or 5 different seminars that I rotate, so it's not always the same one because you're always going to get new people. But the thing that blows my mind is I see a lot of the same people with all the other choices out there keep coming to my seminars every year. And that's incredibly gratifying, satisfying, and humbling at the same time. So uh, I can't tell you how much I enjoy it. I think I've beat that one up pretty good, but I have more to do. There's other shows going on. I, I did I did a fishing presentation for a group of Cub Scouts. Dave Meller got a hold of me, and he warned me. He warned me ahead of time. They had 11 boys. He said they get pretty noisy. They get pretty wild, rowdy. It's a little hard to keep them contained. And I mean that's no news to you. You know the age group of the boys he's dealing with. And but I was a Cub Scout leader. I was a Boy Scout leader for almost 25 years. So 24 years. And so I've seen all that. But
So where did you go to their meeting itself?
I went to the meeting in Skenevus at the Masonic Lodge, and I brought my
Yeah.
little tank. I did my jig seminar, the Marabou jigs, where what I do is I take a bass rod with heavy line and use the wrong knot for it, and I show them how it kills the action of that jig. But then I have the identical jig, identical weight, same color and everything, rigged on an ultralight with 4 pound test with a loop knot and put it in there, and they can visibly see the incredible difference it makes when you have the tackle matched to what you're the technique that you're doing. And I showed them how to take Sharpies, and you can create your own jigs and make something that looks more realistic that you can't buy and that nobody else has. So I had one of the parents walk up to me afterwards, shaking his head, and he said, I have never seen those boys sit so still and be so quiet for that length of time ever. Ever. So, but I'll tell you what, the minute I was done and said that's all I got, they broke loose. And
Oh, of course. Yeah.
oh, yeah, all that pent up energy, running and racing and slipping and falling. Boys, stop running. We're not running. Not now because you fell because you were running. So, yeah, it's great to be around that age group, and I love to show them something that they can actually go out and do. And whenever I start that jig seminar, I tell them you can catch more fish on an artificial lure than you can catch with live bait. And they're like, no way. I'm like, oh, yeah. But in order to convince you of that, I have to change the way you think about live bait. So I say, if you're going to, and this works every single time I do it. If you're going to go out and you want to go just catch some fish, these are young boys. So you're talking, sunfish, bluegill, crappie, perch, probably bluegill, pumpkin seed, and perch more than anything. And I say, if you're going to do that, what are you going to use for live bait? And everybody's yelling worms. And I'm like, okay, right. That's what you're going to do. But let's think about that. Where do worms live? They're like in the ground. Right. Where do fish live? They live in the water. Right. They never see worms. Worms are not a part of their environment. The only time they see worms in their environment is when you go dig them up and pail them on a hook and throw them out there under a float. Then they see worms, and yeah, they'll bite them because it looks like it's small and it moves and wiggles. It looks like something they could eat, so they check it out. But if you put something in the water that looks like what they eat every day, if they don't eat worms because they're not part of their environment, what do you think they actually eat? And they said, little fish, like bingo. So if you put something in the water that looks like what they eat every day that is part of their environment, you're going to get a lot more strikes and you're going to catch a lot more fish. And then I show them how to make that marabou jig look just like a little minnow, how to look like a little crayfish, how to look like a leech, and how to look like a young of the year perch fry by changing it with Sharpie markers. And it opens their eyes to the possibilities of using lures, where at their age they thought, well, if you're going to catch fish, you have to use worms. You don't, and you can catch a lot more without worms. So
you watch those reels, right? You watch reels on Instagram?
Oh yeah, all the time.
Okay, all right. So have you seen the one where they essentially call the worms and they stick this piece of wood in the ground and they rub the friction on this other piece of wood onto the stake, rattles the ground and it sends a vibration through the ground like it's rain. And they come up through it makes all the worms come up. Have you seen this?
I haven't seen the reel, but I'm familiar with that technique. There's a name for it.
Have you done it?
It's called fiddling, I believe.
I think it is called fiddling.
Yeah. What it replicates, they learned how to do that by watching birds that would fly, land on the side of a fence post, peck at it like a woodpecker, and then jump down and grab the worms that came out of the ground because it sent vibrations down. No, we didn't fiddle that way when we were teenagers. We had another technique. All right. My parents weren't thrilled with this. Carry a lot of fuses. We used to take, let me put a disclaimer out right now. I am not recommending this to anybody. I'm just relating something I used to do as a misguided teenager.
This ought to be really good. I'm excited.
Yeah. Well, what we used to do is we used to take an electrical cord, 2-prong electrical cord, like a lamp cord, get a good length of it, and then you take a razor blade and you split it. So you got, you separate it. So you got one strand in each hand, strip a little bit of the casing off. So you got the exposed wire, and you take an old coat hanger, cut it into 2 pieces and make a long standing bar with a little L hook at the top. And then you take that. I'm not recommending this. You take those exposed wires and you wrap it around that little L part of that metal rod, wrap it with electrical tape, and then you take those and you stick them in the ground, as far apart as you can get them, just push them down into the ground. And then you take a hose and you soak that area so it's wet. And then you step back and you plug in that cord into an outlet, and, an outdoor GFI outlet. And it sends current down through that moisture, and the worms come wriggling up out of that ground. They can't get out of the ground quick enough.
Really?
Yeah. Here's a tip. unplug that cord before you step in that mud and start grabbing worms. Okay. Again, I do not recommend this, but that's what we used to do. We never fiddled, but we electrified them.
Do they stay on the ground on the top for a minute before they disappear?
Oh yeah. They come flying out, they come crawling out of that ground because it's sending electrical current through that moisture, and they're trying to get away from it.
So what is that process called?
Cheating. I don't know. We didn't have a name for it.
Electro worming,
Electro fiddling. And I hope there's some listeners out there going, all right, in the first place, what's Roy Bilby doing trying to get earthworms to go fishing for?
Oh, back in the day. You wouldn't do that now.
A kid that was 14, 15 years old. I have graduated. I have progressed. So
yeah, I don't agree with I don't agree with drowning worms either. You know my stance on worms.
Oh yeah, that's it. We have the bar set for ourselves.
Speaking of, I got my invite to go on that smallmouth charter again in the fall, and I said I had a conflict.
I'll take you fishing that day. There's your conflict.
I'm not going to be going. Well, who's the other guy that you know that's out there on the St. Lawrence? You went out and fished with him.
Tristan Bauer.
He reached out to me and said that he would take me out.
Oh yeah, and you're in for a treat. You are in for a treat.
So I'll give him a call and go out there some weekend in the fall. I'll be up there in August.
Okay.
But anyway, doesn't matter.
If you go out with Tristan, I guarantee you he will prove to you they're down there. They're down there. But you'll be catching them too. So yeah, he's a good man. He's got them pretty well dialed. I went out with him. Boy, it was late in the year. It was, I believe it was December, the first week of December. And he put his boat in and he was breaking ice away from the ramp to get his boat in. That's how cold it was. It was a day to remember, but there are some giant smallmouth there and they were still biting. And yes, they were down there and he brought them up. It was awesome. What a trip. I'd do it again in a heartbeat. So I did have one ice fishing trip. I got 2 ice fishing trips under my belt. We went to a place called Young's Pond. It's just absolutely loaded with fish. Unfortunately, a lot of smaller ones. I don't keep them that size. A lot of people do, but I always try to target the largest bluegill, the largest crappie, the largest perch. Panfish don't have a lot of longevity. You know, they live 6-7 years, maybe 8 years. And so when you catch one of those really large specimens, you're not contributing to the gene pool by releasing them like you think you are, you know, if they're panfish, because they're at the end of their lifespan. Harvest those fish. They're contributing the most to the gene pool when they're 3, 4, 5 years old and they're in their prime. So I just like catching and harvesting those outsized specimens. That's why I'm always posting Instagram photos of these, you know, outsized perch and hopefully large crappie and palm-sized bluegills, and you get good thick fillets off them, and we eat like kings. So we had this trip to Young's Pond, myself and my buddy. We fished 5 hours now, and I was trying out my brand new Eskimo one-man flip shelter, but
there you go. How'd it go?
I used it as an open sled. I never flipped it over and fished enclosed. Number one, it was a very mild day. Number two, there'd been 3 mild days leading up to that. So we had 12 inches of good hard ice, but there was 2 inches of slush and slop and crust on top of it. You punched through with every step. Coming off it in the afternoon, it was about 3 inches, and it makes a slushy, sloppy mess on everything, and it's not pleasant. It makes everything a mess, and I don't enjoy it when it's like that, and didn't know it was going to be like that till we got there. But most of the time we're catching fish out of 17, 16 foot. We found them in 11 foot. And they were just biting like crazy. 5 hours, we put 79 fish on the ice, mostly bluegill, but there were some larger pumpkin seed. There was some nice perch. We did get some nice perch, but I had a commitment that night. I had the Cub Scout presentation to do that night, so I wasn't going to keep any fish because I want to fish as late as I can, but I didn't have any time to allow for cleaning fish and getting all cleaned up and packing them and soaking them and then getting to the meeting. So I basically fished just for the sake of fishing. And like I said, we put 79 fish on the ice, some really nice perch. My buddy did catch one largemouth. I did not, but I've already got some on the books for this year. He wants to ice fish again Wednesday. And I did some recon because with this mild weather, and we've had a stretch of this mild weather, if I can get my boat on at Seagull Lake, I'm going to do that. But did some recon today, had a buddy that went to the launch and took some pictures for me because he works in Cooperstown, and there is ice, I mean, about 20 feet from the docks. There's no way I'm getting a boat on it, and I'm afraid it's going to be too slushy and sloppy yet Wednesday to ice fish and really enjoy it. So I'm going to be checking to Schoharie Creek and see if I can get on that. If I can't, I might just put on some waders and go ice fishing. That would take care of it if I did it in waders. So, and I've done that before. Last year, we had a day at Seagull Lake was still frozen, still had 12 inches of ice, but this was March. So the snow melt and runoff was coming into the lake, and there was about 15 to 20 foot of open water before the ice. And I used waders to wade out there and climb onto the ice. And then we hiked down to our spot on 12 inches of ice and we went ice fishing and we caught perch. And I went back exactly 1 week to the day in my boat and fished the same spot. There was 12 inches of ice a week before and I caught more perch. And I know this because this is after the first of the year now, and I'm already reviewing my journal and photo album from last year and reliving every day like I do every year. And I've made it through March. I'm just starting April now. And I had 125 entries in my journal last year. It was a very, very busy, very productive year. 1,679 bass caught and released. And I don't have any of the other numbers yet, because I don't keep running totals. But at the end when I get to the end of my journal, I do go back through and tally up all those fish at the end of the year. So I'll have some totals on that for you. The perch are in the hundreds. Crappies and bluegills are generally in the hundreds. I'm very blessed, and I really enjoy what I get to do. So what have you been up to? You have not been ice fishing, but we're going to try to get you out there. Have you done any fishing?
I finally got out for my day one on Saturday, and that was the first day that I put on waders and boots and the whole 9 yards. The knee has finally progressed far enough to where I'm feeling pretty okay.
How many degrees now do you have?
144.
Okay. Wow, you're really getting there.
And I started at 28. So
yeah. Huge difference.
So it's been quite a journey. I hate using that buzzword. It's been a recovery journey.
Yeah. Yeah.
But it has been. I got out. I skunked, but I didn't care. I got a lot of cast in to the point where my arm was sore afterwards. So that was a good soreness.
Yeah.
And
muscle memory reclamation.
Moving things along. I'm glad to just get out. You know, beggars can't be choosers, but I'm gunning. I tell you what, I am also going golfing in March. I've got my deposits in for a golf trip, and
not here.
I'm only mentioning that, Roy, because I've got a request into my nephew-in-law to get me out bass fishing while I'm down there.
Down where? Where are you going?
Myrtle Beach.
Oh, okay. Okay.
So I'll be able to go inland on the golf courses and get some casting in, and I'm going to bring a couple of reels and that are already loaded and some of my soft plastics, you know, what I need, just fit that in my suitcase, and I'll be able to throw, because he's a he's a left-hand retrieve. I'm a right-hand retrieve. So I want to make sure I can, I want to be comfortable while I'm out there. So he's going to find us some good water to get out on. He's got a buddy who's got a boat as well, a bass boat to get out on a couple lakes. So one of those days I'll get out and get some fishing in. So I'm stoked.
It depends where you are in the country. It's either a well-kept secret or a well-known fact that the water holes on many, many golf courses hold a lot of largemouth that never get fished for.
Yeah, I know. That's why I want to go out and catch one. How's that for the sign of a true addict that I'm 2 months out from the trip and I'm arranging fishing to sneak off to do while I'm down there. I'm there to golf, but I'm going to make sure I get my fishing fix in.
Oh, I can relate.
While I'm there. So
I'm not a golfer, but our Masonic district has an annual golf tournament that raises money for scholarships for area students. And they do this tournament every year. And they got permission from the golf course owner 1 year to let me participate. And I would fish the water holes as they golfed. And there was a side. This was also to raise money. It was a 50-50 to raise additional money for the scholarships. Anybody who wanted to get in on the pool for $10 could throw in, and then they'd say how many bass they thought I would catch during the golf tournament and at these various water holes. And I was allowed 10 casts per water hole. That was it. And I never fish this place. I don't know anything about it, how deep it is or anything.
So they were gambling on you? They were gambling on you during the golf tournament?
Anybody who participated threw in $10 and said, I think he's going to catch this many bass, 10 casts per water hole during the course of this, 18-hole tournament. And whoever got the closest got half the pot, and the other half went to the scholarships. And the guy that won donated it all anyway, which is what most of it. It was just a way to raise an additional bunch of cash because we give away $750 scholarships to 4, sometimes 5 students.
The Kiss My Bass 50-50.
There you go. Now there's a name for it. It was only allowed to happen 1 year. So I don't know if it'll ever happen again, but
I will find a way to make that happen again for me.
I got to do my thing while they did their thing. So
obviously you're not a golfer.
I am not. If I've got time to do that, I'm going to be fishing.
I was tossing movie quotes there.
Yeah. Okay.
If you know, you know. I'm not going to say what it was.
Okay.
If you don't know what it was, I'm not going to say it. The dude abides.
Well, the only golf movie I know is Happy Gilmore.
I watched the second one on Netflix. They recently
did one.
Yeah, not as good as the first one. Not even close.
That first one.
I wasn't a huge fan. I wasn't a huge fan of the storyline.
Okay, because you're a golfer.
It's because I'm an Adam Sandler fan, and I hated to see him sell out like that. It's ridiculous.
So we do have to work on getting that ice fishing trip for those pike done. My son texted me today and said we gotta look at the calendar and figure out when we're going to do that. We got cold weather coming, so
we got ice up there. We got ice up there. There's plenty of ice on the lake.
Yeah,
already.
Sometime early February, probably.
I'm thinking so.
Okay.
And Ray wants to as well. So he's already in. He's in to do something.
I'll tell you what. We get a few more guys out there, we will definitely see some of those big pike. They're going to come in.
No, for sure.
They're going to come in. So in that vein, I have a few tips to put out. I got 4 tips I want to throw out for all the ice fishermen that are tuned in today. And this is stuff I really don't think about because I've done it for years. It's just stuff. One thing was passed on to me from somebody else. The rest of it, I came up with on my own. But this stuff works. I don't give it a second thought, but there's some people probably are aware of some of these things, and there's probably more others that aren't. So here we go. When using a tip up, I was raised. We used braided line on them because it's much easier to hand line your fish if you've got braided line. I tried it with monofilament, figuring it would be better with cold hands. You couldn't hardly feel it. If a fish took off, it could cut your hand. So braided line is the way to go. And my dad always taught me, he put a snap on the end of it. We'd put a snelled hook on it with a little egg sinker weight to get it down, little rubber core egg sinker, because you can slide them up and down the line. And that's what we always did. We would sound for the depth and set our tip ups. One thing that I got into the practice of doing, so I didn't have to resound my tip up every time I had a flag or caught a fish or had one run off with my bait, I carry little, they're line markers. They look like a little red and white float, but they're tiny, tiny, tiny. And what I do, I always, to start, set my tip ups so my bait is 18 inches off the bottom. I have a way of measuring that when I sound it, how many wraps around the spool, so that my live baits, the only time I use them is when I'm using tip ups, ice fishing, is 18 inches off the bottom. I do that because I catch a lot of fish doing that. That draws fish both from the bottom and fish that are suspended. It's kind of like a happy medium, and you'll get fish from all depth levels coming in and taking your bait. And what I do once I get that established to where it's 18 inches off the bottom, I clip that float on my line so it sits right on the top of my spool. So for the rest of the day, I get a bite, I get a fish, I catch them. I don't have to resound my depth. All I do is put on another bait, drop that tip up down, set the line so that float is on top of my spool, and I'm at the exact same depth I was before. Now, old timers used to use a button and thread it onto the braided line, and you could slide that button up and down the line. But I found that when I did that, when I slid it up and down the line, it coiled and it made that line twist unmercifully. So I use these little plastic floats that clip onto the line, and always mark your spot. That way you always go back to where you got that bite, exact same depth, foolproof every time. So that's the first one. That's actually a bonus one. That wasn't one I was going to talk about. What I was going to talk about is my dad got me into using the single snelled hooks. That's what we always used. But we would occasionally miss some fish. And I've ice fished with a good buddy of mine, good friend. I'm going to throw his name out. He's a listener, John Grady. He's the one that put me onto this. He ties his own fine, thin diameter steel leaders and ties treble hooks into them. Small trebles. I use a number 4 or a number 6, a small treble hook, and just a single treble, but your hook to strike ratio is much higher. I went to that system years ago. I actually use steel leaders with a snap on the end of them, and I just hook my treble hook into that little snap, and it has not deterred the number of strikes I get. I get just as many. Everybody would think that's too much hardware. They're going to see that. It has made no difference whatsoever. And I fish a lot of places that are extremely clear water, and I get just as many flags and bites as I ever do, much to the chagrin of my one particular buddy I ice fish with, who just can't get a flag on a tip up. I'll catch 15 flags and he'll get one and it'll drop it. So he jigs. But he'll take 5 tip ups. He hardly ever sets them. He just jigs. Consequently, he catches a lot more fish jigging than I do because he jigs the entire day. And I'm back and forth between flags, checking tip ups, breaking holes open.
Does he tell you that he jigged a bass?
Yes, he does.
I jigged a bass today.
We're going to return to that, are we?
I jigged 10.
Apparently we are.
I jigged 10 basses. Somebody said trouts to me the other day, like plural.
Oh,
trouts.
That must have made your skin crawl. Trouts? So he had more than one?
More than one, plural, trouts, plural.
Yeah. Good grief.
That's like worse than listening to somebody chew. Gross.
No thanks.
Just thought I'd add that.
So if you're using single hooks on your tip ups, try mixing in a few trebles and just see for yourself if that doesn't make it. Made a huge difference for me. So thanks, John, for that tip. Number 3, like I said, I always start 18 inches off the bottom, but if I've got a day where I'm in an area where I'm confident there's fish, there's no hard and fast rule that says if you're not getting bit, you got to keep them where they are. I'll start mixing it up. I'll change those little floats. I'll drop some closer to the bottom. I'll raise some farther up, and I'll experiment until I start getting bites one way or the other. And then however I'm getting the bites, I'll convert all my tip ups to that depth. It's just a way of searching more of the water column. And I've had that work real well. Generally, I'm getting bit. 18 inches off the bottom. But there's days when they're just not going to commit at that depth. So I start mixing it up to find out, which section of the water column they're using. And with 5 tip ups, you can experiment a lot. So if you ever have a slow day, start mixing it up the way I do. It's going to help you locate where the fish are going to bite. Now, I have a little technique that I call a quick set with a tip up. And I'm not the only guy this happens to, that nobody's immune from this. And perch are notorious for this. You'll get a flag, you go out there, you can tell the arm has been pushed over. It was not a wind flag. It was definitely a fish. The spool had rotated, but your float's still there. Like one turn off the spool, you can still see it, which means that fish took the minnow and took just enough line to trip the flag and stopped. And I call those campers. Now, what do? If you go to lift the tip up out of the hole, they're going to feel that and drop it. So you have to wait for them to make a move. Sometimes they just drop it anyway and move off. Those are the most frustrating bites. And there's many days when I get those campers, as they call them, because they're just camping on. They trip the flag and they're just sitting there with it. What I do is on the top of your tip up where your flag was set, I return that bar to the straight out position. And then I snap the tip up out of the hole. And what that does is that spool rotates quickly till it hits the arm. And because you're pinching it with your fingers, it locks the spool. So one turn of the spool and it's locked, and that helps you set the hook. If that fish is sitting on that bait and not moving, you're going to hook them. And I call that a quick set. And it's put a lot of fish on the ice for me. So if you've never tried that and you're getting a lot of flags and you're getting there and the spool is not turning, the fish is not moving, try locking that bar with your fingers and snapping that tip up straight up. If that fish still has it, it's going to set the hook for you and put that fish on the ice for you. And the final tip, and again, with the tip up, you got to use a minnow. It's not going to do anything with a piece of plastic because it's stationary and not moving. But you put a minnow on there, he's going to swim around. He's going to get you bites. I was raised, we always used to hook our minnows through the back, right behind the dorsal fin, so that they would hang horizontally and they could swim freely. That's just what I was taught. We caught a lot of fish doing it that way, and a lot of ice fishermen rig their minnows that way. But then I read an article when I was 16, 17 that said you should hook your minnows. You should nose hook them through the lips, hook them through the snout, hook them up front. They can still swim freely. Doesn't affect their ability to swim at all. But most predators swallow other fish head first. And the reason for that is there's a lot of young of the year perch, little bluegill, little game fish fry. These are all what are known as spiny rayed fish. Now, the minnows are not. They have a very soft dorsal fin. But a lot of fish that the predators eat are spiny rayed fish. They have those spikes and spines in their dorsal fin. And if they grab it sideways or grab it from the back, those rays tend to stand up and get caught in their throat. Instinctively, they will swallow them head first, so that doesn't happen. And if you hook your live bait nose first, that hook is going to be in the business end when you get a strike on your tip up. And my hookup ratio has gone up exponentially since I've started doing that. So there's 5 quick tips for the ice fishermen out there to hopefully become more productive on the ice, put more fish on the ice. And the whole reason we're out there is to catch fish. So the more we catch, the happier we seem to be. Hopefully that'll help somebody go out and put 79 fish on the ice. And there's my tips for this episode.
Nice. Well, if you want some more tips, slide into Roy's DMs at all lowercase Roy Bilby on the Instagram.
And as always, we appreciate you listening. In 2026, we'll be celebrating our 3rd year doing these podcasts in March. Hopefully get it to do another live session at the Bass Pro Shops and have a lot of electricity in the air like we did last time. That was a blast. So there you go. Hang in, hang on, tune in, and tap into your angler within.